Bernal, having the pleasure of being at the second Fine Art Printmakers of Jamaica exhibition at the University of the West Indies regional headquarters. And I'm standing before two wonderful works, 2 of 4 contributed by the amazing Jamaican artist Bernard Stanley Hoyes, who is based between California and downtown Kingston. Bernard has done a really fabulous series, but a very interesting one particularly because these 2 works are the Fresh Air series. The first one called Fresh Air, the second Sunset on Fresh Air. They're really wonderful standalone pieces which demonstrate Bernard's technical prowess. But they're even more interesting if one saw them against the other 2 of the same size, which are on the other side of the exhibition room and represent the Desert series. So you could almost say he talks about hot air and about fresh air in an exquisite series, and these are oil and acrylic monoprints. Bernard Stanley Hoyes, Jamaican born and a perpetual supporter of the printmakers and the artists of Jamaica.
Sasha. I am here to support my friend Lisa Lindo with her monotypes today. Her series with the birds, the toady in particular, is one of my favorite Jamaican birds, and I'm just here to support all the artists and definitely appreciate the effects of climate change on these animals, because there are fewer toadies than there were when I was growing up, so it's nice to see them.
Well, my name is Jan Voordouw, and the art that I see has a lot to do with change, climate change, change in our environment, in our world, and that should hit people. So I see a lot of pieces that look like drift nets, big landscapes that are brown and dead and changing. It's of course prints, so it has quite stark colors, most of them, and it affects me.
So I think so far the exhibit has been really lovely. Seen some very interesting pieces that really reflect nature and what's happening in our environment today. Some that are celebrating what is good, some that are calling our attention to, the decline and climate change, and to raise our awareness about what is just happening in our environment. So lots of interesting pieces, different mediums to look at, to choose from. So I think it's been really good so far. I'm glad I'm here.
We're here today at the exhibition, printmaking exhibition, and what's going on here today is really good work that I'm seeing. One of the work that I found very interesting is some by big painter from Trelawney, Albert Huey. Yeah, I like his work. I'd probably get one of those if I can afford it, or probably support my friend Brian, who is in the background over there. Yeah, he has some good work here. But otherwise from that, everything is good. I like what's going on. Yeah.
who are here but are not speaking verbally to you right now. And our mission as the group of artists who call ourselves Fine Art Printmakers of Jamaica. Our first exhibition was here in this very wonderful space, and we would like to thank the University of the West Indies, the regional headquarters, and the managers here for allowing us to present our work in this space. So, in doing this exhibition, we hope to create more visibility, familiarity, and understanding of the fine art print and its unique qualities. But this particular exhibition is a new commitment for us, a broader commitment. As artists, we are trying to lend our voices to highlight the vulnerability of everything that's spinning out of control right now in the planet. And sometimes, you know, in a daily way, you cannot put a hand on why are things so awry. But I just think there's sort of a broader unpinning of there's just a broader, I was trying to avoid direct contact. Okay, so yeah, things feel to me as they must to many persons here that they are spinning out of control and out of balance. And the name that we have given to this endeavor, the title of this exhibition is The Times Change. The times are changing. And I hear so many times people say, why have I never seen this before? Why, the first time in my life you see this? Why? You know, people are just constantly amazed and surprised by the changes because, you know, we weren't paying attention to it 20 years ago, 30 years ago. But there's someone here who has been, and she's going to be our guest speaker tonight, Miss Diana McCauley. Diana Macaulay needs no introduction to many of us here. She is not only a journalist and a writer, but she is a very keen environmentalist and advocate for the environment.
Thanks, Julie. The mask, yeah? Not a big change. Right, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much to the Fine Art Printmakers of Jamaica, got it right, for inviting me. Andy Jefferson particularly, I don't know if Andy's here. Yes, I'm happy to be here, and I congratulate all the artists for their wonderful work. I'm gonna speak a bit personally about the climate crisis, and I hope it won't be merely boring reminiscences. If you take one thing from what I have to say here tonight, I want it to be the word unprecedented. And as you go about your lives, navigate whatever news you watch, I want you to start noticing how often you see or hear that word, unprecedented. The first time I heard the word climate change, or the term climate change, a term that I have come to think is entirely inexact and does not convey the urgency of the situation, was at the launch of the Natural Resources Conservation Authority Act in 1991 or 1992. This new act that was going to give us an overarching environmental legislation which was going to ban the problem. And even the Jamaican government had to obey the environmental laws. And beforehand, I was chatting to Gladstone Mills, who some of you might remember, and he suggested that I ask a question about climate change, which I'd almost not heard of at that point. How would this new law that we were all there to celebrate deal with climate change? And I did ask that question. And I don't remember the answer now from then Environment Minister Easton Douglas, but I do remember that afterwards a well-known private sector leader, who shall remain nameless tonight, came up to me and said, "Diana, don't you know climate change is a hoax?" That was 1991 or 1992. Fast forward to my time at the University of Washington in Seattle, between 2000 and 2002, to a class on climate change. The North Pole had just been observed to be ice-free in summer for the first time for an estimated 5 million years. And I remember the professor at that time saying we were already committed to some warming because of the longevity or the persistence of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. But I will admit back then the whole thing felt academic, even to me, far away. And given that in 2000 the US election was in dispute for some weeks, and the 9/11 attacks happened in 2001, the threat of the climate crisis, which is the term I prefer, or climate breakdown, seemed distant. It seemed to me then that the world was facing more urgent problems. But in that class, I also learned that the likelihood of the warming being caused by the adding of carbon dioxide and other so-called greenhouse gases to the atmosphere was first hypothesized by at least 4 different scientists between 1850 and 1896. 1850 and 1896. One, a woman, who if anybody's ever heard of, please put up your hand, Eunice Newton Foote, was not allowed to present her research to the scientific community because she was a woman and therefore considered an amateur. It was Swedish physicist Avante Arrhenius who produced the world's first climate model in 1896 and tried to work out how much CO2 it would take to change global temperatures. His prediction was that if you doubled the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere, it would lead to a rise in global average temperature of 5 to 6 degrees Celsius. A prediction that has changed little in the ensuing 126 years. Put it another way, we knew. At least the scientists knew. Over the past 2 or 3 days, as I sat down to write my thoughts, what I would say here tonight, I noticed that people in various parts of the world are facing crises of human lives that are directly or indirectly caused by the climate crisis. This is nothing new, but I want to say they're facing it now or in the recent past. And I'm going to run through just a few of them, because if I went through all of them, midnight before, I'm going to get to live. 20 million people in the Horn of Africa, especially Somalia and Ethiopia, face famine due to food shortages caused by drought. Exacerbated, it is true, by the war in the Ukraine, which continues to be possible due to the financing from the West, which is still buying Russian oil and gas. Flooding in Yellowstone National Park in the US, also in parts of Montana, destroying homes, roads, bridges, caused by melting snowpack, never before seen to this level in the lifetimes of those who live there, beating the previous high water mark record by over 2 feet. I guess most of you have seen the picture of the river taking the house downstream. A heat dome, currently affecting 1/3 of the US population, 100 million people, now under a heat alert. India recorded the hottest March this year since records began. Unprecedented. A large area of the US Southwest is in extreme drought. Rainfall is at the lowest recorded level in a century. This region includes California, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Utah. Lake Mead, the reservoir created by the Hoover Dam, the US's largest reservoir by capacity, is now at 27%, with levels still falling. And speaking of Utah, the Great Salt Lake has lost 2/3 of its surface area threatening 2.5 million people with dust storms. Wildfires in the US Southwest have caused evacuations in Arizona and California. More than 30 fires have burned 1 million acres in 5 states in the past few weeks. A heat wave is moving into Spain and Portugal. Tourists have been told to expect dangerous conditions. And of course, we all might remember the unprecedented wildlife season in Australia, 2019 to 2020, which burned between 10 and 42 million acres and killed or harmed 3 billion animals. The smoke behaved like a volcano, which, in a cruel irony, caused a small amount of cooling in the atmosphere. 30-odd people died in the flames, hundreds died from the impacts of air pollution, and over 3,000 homes were destroyed. Here in the Caribbean, unprecedented quantities of sargassum seaweed are piling up on our beaches, affecting fishing and tourism. And we are facing another above-average year for hurricanes.